Welcome, everyone, to the initial episode of R&B Sports Talk. I'm your host, CJ Baumgartner, along with my co-host, Ian Rivers. And we're going to start the radio broadcast pretty quick here, so stay tuned. We got a great show planned. Welcome, everyone, to the inaugural episode of R&B Sports Talk. I am your host, CJ Baumgartner, along with my co-host here, Ian Rivers. Ian, how you feeling today?
Good, CJ. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. We got this first episode planned. We got a great show planned ahead for you guys. And we're going to start off with a little segment. We're going to start off every show with our segment of what we're going to call Beaver Banter. And we break down all BSU sports going on. And we're going to start with what, Ian?
We're going to start with basketball, both men's and women's.
All right, so we're going to start with men's basketball. They're off to an 0-2 start this year. They've averaged about 62.5 points per game. You think that's enough to get it done?
Well, it should be most games, but the defense definitely needs to step it up a little bit.
All right, I think they could maybe score a little more, but then again, this is only 2 games, so the sample size is really low.
For sure.
But where were they this weekend?
We were playing in the NSIC MIAA Classic in Wisconsin Dells. It's a fun little tournament. We played against Lindenwood and Central Missouri.
I mean, it's always fun when you can go to the Dells, isn't it?
I think so. I've been there once, and I had a wonderful time.
I've been there multiple times. Hopefully I can go back again. That is it's one of the highlights about Wisconsin. Sorry, Wisconsin listeners. But, no, we're going to keep going with some men's basketball. So I think this roster looks really young, and there's only 2 seniors on the roster of Sharif Black and Christian Pekarek, and they're going to really have to carry the team. And basically, there's no juniors on this roster.
Yeah, the senior class is going to have to carry us this season. Something that I took away from the game personally was the hustle stats. Lindenwood in the first game got more points off turnovers, 16-10, more second chance points, 13-3, and more bench points, 31-19. That's something that definitely helps you win basketball games. So I think that if Bemidji can start to win those hustle stat categories that don't necessarily show up on every box score individually, then we're going to start to play better.
And it's a young team, so of course, and this is non-conference, and these are the first couple games, you're kind of out of your element in the Dells, and sometimes it feels more like a vacation than it does like, okay, let's go down and play some basketball. But they're starting a 3-game homestand this week. On Friday, they play Valley City State. On Saturday, they play Northland. And then on Monday, they play Oak Hills. This is a 3-game homestand, and I expect them, they'll definitely beat Oak Hills. But I should expect them to go 2-1, if not 3-0 in this stretch, and really kind of establish some dominance this season. But basically, one player I'm expecting to have a big season from is Sharif Black. I think he's one of the better players, if not the best player on this team. And I think that he's really got a chance to kind of step it up and give a good season for the Beavs. But after this, the non-conference schedule's over, and they move into the meat and potatoes of the schedule, which is the NSIC. And how do you think that they'll do with the NSIC this season?
Well, over the last couple of seasons, they've struggled in NSIC play, but this season, I think it's looking up. We've got some strong senior leadership, as you said, from Black, one of our captains, and I think that definitely this year is probably going to go a little bit better than last year.
For sure.
I still don't know where we'll stand. The three games that you brought up against Valley City, Northland, and Oak Hills are definitely going to go a long way in telling us what we need to know about this team.
And I think that for sure they'll beat Oak Hills. And, I don't know a ton about Valley City or Northland, but from what I do know, they're not strong, strong enough where it's chalk it up as a loss. And I think they have a really good chance, especially with home court. It'll be your first home game. The juices will be flowing. You will be motivated. And I think they have a great chance to go 3-0 and go into NSIC play with a winning record.
That is true. And there's no home hockey games this weekend.
Yeah, but it is Thanksgiving.
That'll help the attendance.
It is Thanksgiving.
Yes, that's true. So the student section might be a little depleted, but
it does take the wind out of the sails a little bit. And I'm at a lot of the hockey games, or not hockey, basketball games. And yeah, the home, I've played in high school, and of course that doesn't mean much, and I've seen college basketball games, and the home crowd really does make a difference. And when you don't have fans there, it really kind of does take the wind out of your sails a little bit. You don't want to play as because they add an energy to the building. And I've played in front of crowds where they were just out of the game. Like, it was quiet. When we went into the huddle for timeouts,
Oh yeah.
you could hear the crowd having a conversation because they had no interest in this game. You had no interest to want to play harder because you were just like, well, what's the point? Like, there's no energy, there's no like momentum in this game. So I think that's a message to you, Beaver fans, is to get out and support your own because they should have some quality basketball games this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. Home court advantage does play a big part in it. We had a home game when I was in high school, playing the number 1 team in the state, and we asked everybody in the school to come to the game, wear black, support the team, because they were undefeated. We had 1 loss. It was to them. So the game, we sold out the arena. It was so much fun. We were down by 10 with about 8 minutes to go, and then the student section really started to get the crowd into the game, and we rallied back, held them to, I think, 8 points in the last 8 minutes of the game. We scored 20 or so, including a game-winning buzzer beater, and that was one of the most exciting experiences of my time as a high school basketball player.
And do you think that without the crowd that it would really have had, like, if there was no crowd there, do you really think that you would have won that game or even been in had a shot?
You feed off the crowd's energy, so our fans were very loyal that season. They followed us to a lot of home games, or away games, I mean. And I think we fed off the crowd's energy in that game, and it helped us to get back into a position to win the ball game.
So, and this is coming because you're a student at BSU. I'm a student
Correct.
at BSU. A lot of you listening on the radio, hopefully, are students at BSU. But how much does it cost you to get into those basketball games?
I believe they are free if you show your student ID.
They're free if you show your student ID. So, there's really no incentive. There's really no reason to not go. Like,
exactly. Come out and support the Beavers this weekend.
All right.
Big games.
Another group that's playing this weekend, perfect segue, is the women's teams. And they have, I don't think I have they had their first game of the season, excuse me.
Correct, against Valley City.
And they did lose. I believe it was 80-76.
80-76.
And it was I was at the game, so it was very close throughout the end. It was back and forth in the fourth quarter, and the biggest takeaway I got from this team is they're looking to go really young. And they started a true freshman, Brooklyn Bachman. She scored in her inaugural game. She played 38 minutes and scored 22 points.
Impressive.
So that is a great first game, obviously. Now it's only one game. But I've heard a lot of people being really excited about the young freshmen that they have this season. And I think it's a good building block for this women's team that is looking to find some success. And I think that they have it. I think they have a good young core. Now, again, the same thing that we talked about the men's team is the women's team. And they're really young. In the game on Friday. They
Saturday.
Saturday,
November 11th.
On Saturday, excuse me, I was at that game. How do I not know this? There were out of the 6 freshmen on the roster, 3 of them got in the game. All 3 sophomores got in the game, and then the 2 juniors and 2 of the seniors. So there's 3 freshmen in that game, 3 sophomores. So they're really young again. But the sophomores did get a lot of time last year. And somebody I'm looking out of a big season from the sophomore class is Erica Gardner. I think she was starting last year at point guard a little bit, and she's, I believe, one of the team captains this year. And she's really got a chance to step it up and become a great player for this team. And she's 4 for 10 on threes. The last game, she's really a good three-point shooter. I've seen it last year. She made some crazy three-point shots. And she can handle the ball well as she controls the offense. And that's the biggest thing you want your point guard to be. And I know, like, we all look at the stats and we look at the scoring, but one of the bigger things that people look at point guards for is their ability to control the offense. And that's why even you see a player like in the NBA, who like Ricky Rubio, he may not score, and I mean, he is scoring a little bit in Utah, but when he looked at the Timberwolves, he's a very productive player in his time in Minnesota.
Correct.
But he never lit up the score.
Correct.
He never lit up the box score with his point totals. But he could run the offense, and they fed off of him, and he was a great setup. And I think another example would be Lonzo Ball in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, if they want to woo some free agents over, like LeBron, like Paul George, like any of those guys, do they really want to see a young guy who all he wants to do is score? No, they see a good passer. And I think good passing and good setup point guards are crucial in this game. But no, I'm expecting a big season out of the sophomore Erica Gardner. I like the young pieces on this team, though, and I think that there is a foundation in the future. And I think that maybe not this year. I think this year we'll take some lumps, but maybe we'll surprise some people. And I think that there's a great chance for them to really kind of get some experience and really develop into a good basketball team.
I took one thing away from the box score of this game. I was not able to attend the game, but one thing I took away from the box score is that Valley City State only played 8 players. They to me didn't appear to have any depth, but their 3 bench players outscored our 5 bench players 20-11. So, that's not really a recipe for success. There are teams, of course, that are their starters are the strength of their team, but the bench needs to be productive as well. You look at a team like the Clippers. The Clippers have solidly, before they traded away Chris Paul, have had great starters. Their starting 5 was as good as any starting 5 in the league, but they haven't been a deep team. In order to be a great team, you need to have depth. The bench needs to step up.
And I think this is an early game, and I think when you have a lot of young players, you really don't know what you have. And I think a lot of those players did get time because it was the first game, and I think as the season goes on, maybe we'll see that bench whittle down a little bit. But yeah, that's a great takeaway. And so what are your expectations for the women's season coming up?
Well, this season's it's gonna lay the foundation for the future. Like you said, we have a very young team. So I think that this season we shouldn't look so much in the wins-loss columns as much as we should how we're improving game to game as the team starts to gel and gain chemistry.
All right. And speaking of a team that was missing a little bit of chemistry, in our second part of the Beaver Banter, we are going to move on to hockey. And we'll start out with women's hockey. And what are your takeaways, Ian?
Well, women's hockey played this weekend, SCSU. They swept the Huskies. They won 3-0 both nights in St. Cloud, which is pretty impressive. Friday night, Emily Berglund, Paige Beebe, Tina Campa all scored goals, and Erin Dieters had 20 saves. Saturday night, Alexis Joyce, Kiki Radke, and Emma Terez scored, and Erin Dieters recorded 18 saves. So on 38 shots over the weekend, Dieters stopped them all, which is pretty impressive. 2 shutouts in a row. Coming up next for the Beavers is Ohio State, number 5 ranked in the country, and that'll be actually at home this weekend. November 17th is at 7, and November 18th is at 3. So if you're around this weekend, come on out to the ladies hockey games.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for the Beavers to really their record probably isn't where they want to be at 5-7-1, 3-5 in the WCHA, but this is a great opportunity maybe to steal one and maybe split the series, or at least kind of show that this team is willing to play ball with some of the better teams.
Exactly. Ohio State is second in the WCHA right now. Bemidji is 4th. So if we can get a game or maybe even steal 2 somehow, we got the home ice advantage. Let's get an upset. And then we would jump higher up in the WCHA.
And as we said before, with basketball, home ice isn't as huge unless you have what? Fans. So be sure to tune out and get out to the Sanford Center.
Yeah, it should be a fun weekend.
All right, and we talked before about chemistry with the men's and women's basketball teams, but last weekend, the Beavers really kind of were missing some chemistry without star player Zach Whitecloud. Can you kind of tell us more about that?
Well, yeah, the men's hockey team played Mankato this weekend, and we lost the first game 2-5. I was able to attend that game, and it did not really look like, we looked like we missed Whitecloud. Zach Whitecloud is playing for Team Canada in the Conjarly Cup.
Congratulations to him, by the way.
Yeah, what a terrific opportunity for him to be able to potentially be an Olympian. That would be, I can't imagine.
Yeah, especially because is he a sophomore this year?
Yes, he is a sophomore.
So yeah, not even 20 years old, and you're already being looked at to play in the Winter Olympics. So
yeah, I think that the Beavers definitely missed his size, his strength, his defensive presence. We have good, solid defenders such as Beaudry, Billett, associate captain Dylan Eichstad, and Tommy Muck as well. But his presence was definitely missed. We gave up 13 goals on the weekend. Granted, I believe 2 of those were empty net goals, but still 11 goals given up on the weekend is definitely something for concern. Now, Saturday night, 6-8, that game, up and down, roller coaster of emotions. Jay Dickman scored a hat trick. I believe Max Coda scored a hat trick for the Mankato Mavericks.
2 hat tricks in one night.
2 hat tricks in one night. I have some interesting stats about that. So there were 14 total goals scored, 2 hat tricks, 5 lead changes, and 22 players that recorded at least 1 point in the game. So in my opinion, that was, as soon as the scoring gets up to a certain point, you don't care how pretty it looks. You just want to get the result. And Bemidji unfortunately came up a little bit short in that one, but we hung with Mankato, who is a much improved team. They didn't look as good as they could have last year. I think they had a lot of younger pieces, and those younger pieces have become older, and now they're really ready. Bemidji lost a lot of scoring last year, and so I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for our freshmen to get adapted to the new system and to get into the swing of things.
So I forgot to ask you this for the women, but for the women's and the men's teams, what are your expectations for them this year?
Well, for the women's, I think basically improvement. Last season, it was a tough season. They did not have the performances that they probably would have liked. But of course, I'm not in the locker room, so I don't really know what their expectations are. But I would think that anything that's improvement is always, smiled upon. So, last year, of course, I mentioned we did not have a terrific season, but we stole one of the games in the playoffs against the Gophers, and we made it look tough for them. So I think it definitely is tough playing in the conference that we do, because there's teams like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Ohio State that are such powerhouses that it makes it tough. I think for the men's team, what you're expecting, we were projected picked second in the conference by the coaches. But last season we overperformed when we were picked 6th. This season, I don't think second. I think if we can get one of the top 4 seeds in the playoffs, get a home ice playoff series, win that, and then maybe, make a deep run, try to get to the NCAA tournament. I think with the talent we have potential to go deep into March. But
so are you predicting a McNaughton Cup stays in Bemidji over the next summer?
That would be tough. Mankato has looked very good. Some teams look down, like Michigan Tech, but I think Mankato looks like they are the clear-cut favorites at this point, but, it's a long season. Anything can happen.
It's still early. We're not even to Thanksgiving yet. All right, this is going to end our segment of Beaver Banter. We are going to take a short break. We want you all to stay with us. This is R&B Sports Talk on 89.7 FM 90 KBSB, Bemidji State University.
Do you want a chance to be on the R&B radio show? Follow us on Twitter. I am at RiversEN347.
And I am at BAUMCJ30, BombCJ30. Follow us on Twitter and DM us if you are interested in being on the show. Of course, obviously, some rules may apply, but
this is radio, people.
This is radio, people. This is campus radio. So, but anybody who wants a chance to be on the R&B show, be our first guest, maybe. We haven't had a guest. We are not having a guest today, so if anybody wants to be the first guest ever on this show, wouldn't hurt. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. Remember, I am at RiversEN347.
And I am at BombCJ30. That's at BAUMCJ30.
Well, we've got another good segment coming at you.
All right, Facebook Live, sorry, we're going to have to cut you a bit short. There's only about 15 minutes left of program left. So, sorry you had to miss it, but the full show will be available on our Twitter feeds, Facebook, so be sure to follow us on that. We'll get official social media pages started for the show. But for now, just keep us a follow on social media, and we'll hope to get you guys the rest of the audio, maybe even the video. So, thank you very much for tuning into this first show. Anything to say?
Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know I have enjoyed so far making it.
Yeah,
hopefully we can go deep into the future of our
We hope we have a good thing going here.
We do.
I think we got potential for a good show, but again, it means nothing unless you guys tune in. So we could have the greatest content ever, but if you guys don't tune in, it's worthless. So thank you guys for tuning in. You've been a wonderful audience. Until next time.
Until next time.
All right, this has been the R&B Sports Show